Hi, this is Kathy Quinn with Floriani. Floriani is a division of R&K Distributing, and I want to welcome you to our BBQ Mitt in the Hoop. This is our software lesson so you can create your own mitts with your own designs, own lettering. I'm just going to teach you the basics. Okay, the first thing is I have included for you artwork. So we are going to open, go to your open folder. I'm going to go to my desktop and I'm going to go to my BBQ Mitt folder. Now, here is the artwork that I have created for you. Now, this is just nice vector artwork. That's all it is. And so this is, if you look in our sequence view on the bottom right-hand corner, this is not stitches. It's two pieces of artwork. So I'm going to select my T. This is going to be the line that stitches out onto our stabilizer first to know where to line up our fabric. And I am going to come down to the bottom left-hand corner and I'm going to say, turn that into a run stitch. Now with that, it's going to stitch onto the stabilizer. I don't need this short a stitch length. I'm going to put it at about a 3.5. All it is a placement line. So we don't need to waste the time or the thread. So 3.5. Now I always check. I come to the third icon on the left-hand toolbar, my shape tool, and I see that it's going to start here and stop here. So let's see what it's actually doing. It's going to stitch down, up, across, and across. That's an awful lot of stitching. So let's go ahead and come to this and say, you know what? I want you to start down here and I want you to finish right here. Okay, so it's going to start at the bottom, stitch up, over, back, and probably over again. You know what? If I have it stop in the middle, let's see what it does. I mean, it's always good to check and kind of get an idea of what's going to happen. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to stitch up from the bottom. I'm going to go to the right. I'm going to go to the left and stop. Perfect. That is the most efficient way I can stitch that. So perfect. So now we're going to select our oven mitt. Now, I have to tell you, this is Floriani Total Control. But I own Total Quilter, I own Lettering Master, and I own Sketch-A-Stitch. Those programs, if you own them, will show up in your Floriani Total Control. You can purchase them as standalones, or you may already have, and they will automatically come into Floriani Total Control. They'll also come into Floriani Fusion. But because I have them in here, I have a Total Quilter feature that I'm using in my sequence view. And what it is my artwork stays with me. In Floriani Total Control, when you convert a piece of artwork to stitches, the artwork disappears. Well, in the Total Quilter, it does not, because when we're quilting, we might need a tack down line, a fill line, a finish line. So instead of having to copy paste, it holds your artwork. So now it's held my artwork. This is awesome. Now I'm going to tell you this T, I don't need it anymore. So I'm going to select it and I'm going to just delete it by hitting the delete key on my keyboard. So now the only artwork I have is this mitt. So I'm going to grab the mitt, and again, I'm going to make it a run stitch. I'm going to make it a 3.5 because again, this is just a placement line. So now I've turned that artwork into a T and I've turned it into a run for placement. So this will all stitch first directly onto my wet and gone. Now that I've done that, I'm going to say, okay, I want to add a design. I'm going to add some designs to this. So I'm going to go into my library. I'm going to go into my free monthly designs, because remember, Floriani Total Control gives you 5 free designs every month. And we've been doing that since October of 2009. So I'm going to select July and I'm going to go to 2020. These are the designs Trevor just created for July, and I absolutely love them. I think this BBQ King #1 Daddy is awesome since 2020. And because these designs are in a WAF format, you could change this out to say, Caleb, George. You could put there, since, 1919, if that's when they were born. You get it. You have the ability to edit these a lot because they come in as WAF designs. Now I'm going to grab this last one that says Pitch Perfect. I just love what Trevor does. He is amazingly creative, and you have to make sure that, see on right here on the right side, do you see my circle with a slash in it? It's telling me you haven't pulled that all the way onto screen. That slash has to disappear for my design to show up. Now what I want in here, I'm going to close our properties box for a moment. What I actually want in here is I want the fire and the logs. I don't want the tent or anything. So rather than me create a fire design or go buy a fire design, I'm going to use Trevor's. I'm going to select the fire. I'm going to hold my control key. There's the rest of the flames, and there's the base. That's everything I need. So I'm going to copy. I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to come to the corner, copy paste. I'm sorry. And I'm just going to bring this over and set it over here. Now I'm going to go ahead and select this design here because it's all grouped. And I'm going to delete it out of here. Now I didn't delete it out of my free designs. I just deleted it off my screen. But now I'm going to select my little fire here. And I'm going to make it a bigger fire. I need a bigger fire on this glove. And it's to your visual. There's no right or wrong. So I'm going to set this guy right up because I know I have a cuff down here that's going to be a different color. So I'm going to kind of set it up a little bit. So there's my fire. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I want to bring in some lettering. Now because I have Lettering Master, and we're not going to go through all of the Lettering Master exercise, but because I own Lettering Master, it opens up in my Floriani just like my Total Quilter. So what I did, I already went to DaFonts. I downloaded a free 2-type font called Flame. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and select my text. And what I want is I want it to curve a little bit. So I'm going to click the round. And now the A stuck to my cursor, I'm going to left mouse click on screen. Now I've got to open my properties box back up. I closed it so you could see my sequence view. I'm going to type in here hot. And I'm going to drop down and I'm going to go down until I find the flame. That was the alphabet I created in my Lettering Master, but I can use Lettering Master within Floriani, so it's all in one place. I'm going to apply, and I think I'm going to make this about an inch tall. I'm telling you, I've got a new computer, and I'm telling you, I'm learning. I'm learning. Everything I touch does something new. It's supposed to be real cool and awesome, but I'm not cool and awesome with a computer, so I'm learning. Let's apply this. Now there's the word hot. Now this is in a circle and I just want it kind of curved. Now notice this blue icon right here. This icon allows me to rotate or to change the radius of my circle. So I'm going to change the radius of my circle. There's my design, and I'm going to put the word hot. And on the one I did, I think I put the word hot down too far. I needed it a little closer to the top here. So I'm going to move my word hot up some. And there we go. I'm going to take the word hot. I'm going to turn it red to match my flames. I'm good. So now that I've got this, I'm going to click on my text tool. And I'm going to right mouse click, and I'm going to break up this text, because what I want to do is I want to select that text. I'm going to select it, and I want to put a border around it. So I'm going to create a border, and point 1, 2 is fine, and I just want 1. And I'm going to create an artwork border around the word hot. I'm going to do the same around my flames. I'm going to get my border tool right here above it, create outlines, and I'm going to say OK. So now I have created artwork. So you see this artwork? Let's close our properties so you can see it better. If I look, this is artwork. I'm going to hold my control key. This is artwork. And remember, I have this artwork glove. I still have that artwork. So I'm going to select all 3 of those, and I am going to combine them, but I have lost my combine tools. Hang on. There it is. I'm going to come here, and I'm going to hit this paper clip, perhaps, that says combine. Now, I'll show you what I did. I hit the word combine, but you can't see what I've done. Let's open our properties box back up. Let's fill our artwork so we can see what we've created. So it cut a hole for hot, but it didn't cut a hole for my flames. Let's see why. I'm going to select my flames. I come up, hit my control key, select my glove, and combine them. If I can get my combine. There we go. Now let's see what happens when I fill. Okay, so now I have cut 2 holes. Do you see how I've cut out from behind the designs by combining that artwork border with my artwork mitt, that it keeps up here? I keep this piece of artwork. It's awesome. So now what I want to do is I want to fill this mitt with my quilting. So I'm going to come down and I'm going to go to our texture box. Now that's in Floriani, Total Control. I have advanced stippling. I have some other things I could pick, but they're from the Quilters program. So I'm going to stay with texture because really I love cross hatching. So I'm going to select number 245. I'm going to change that and tell it I want that pattern to be about it. See what I'm saying? I don't know why it does this. I'm going to grab that pattern again, and I want to make it 1 inch. And I'm going to apply that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn off this artwork for a minute so you can see what we've done. How cool is this? We've added a design, we've added lettering, we added a border around them, and we cut out the artwork and we filled it with a crosshatch so it'll quilt my mitt. Okay, so now that I've done that, I've got my quilted mitt. All is well at this point. Now what I do want to do now, and I'm going to turn this artwork back on, but I'm just going to make it a light color so it's not offensive. There we go. Now what we're going to do is I am going to turn my grid back on. And what I need to do is I'm going to come up about this. My grid is set at 1/2 inch. Let me show you. If I right mouse click on my ruler bar and go to grid settings, I've got this where each one of these squares is 1/2 inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in along the bottom. I left mouse clicked on my magnifying glass and drew a box around where I wanted to zoom. Now I'm going to hit escape to let go of my zoom tool. Now I'm going to say that I want to come up about 1.25 inches. So I'm going to grab my pencil, which is artwork, and this is about 1/4, 1/2 inch, 1 inch. So I'm going to left mouse click, drag this across, left mouse click, and right mouse click. Now what I just did is I created a piece of artwork. I'm going to come down so you can see it, and I'm going to change its color. So now I created a piece of artwork. I'm now going to turn this piece of artwork into a run stitch. Left mouse click on run at the bottom left hand corner, and I'm going to make that about a 3.0 because remember we've got batting in here. And I'm going to apply. So what's going to happen is it's going to stitch out my placement line. I'm going to lay all my fabric down. It's going to stitch my designs. It's going to do my quilting. And then it's going to draw this line. And this line is so I can fold up my binding and I know where I need to fold it to. And you'll see that in the construction video. But now that I've done that, I'm going to go take that same piece of artwork and I'm going to come down to my run stitches and I'm going to come to my second option in my runs, and that are my run motif. So what I want to do in here is I want to look for a motif to stitch in here, and it's going to stitch on both sides and hold the edge of my binding down. I'm going to fold my binding under, but I want a pretty finish. And what I picked, of course I got to find it again, I picked one that looked kind of flamey, looked a little bit like flames to me. That's not it. It's coming up though, I'm sure. Let's see, where are those flame looking stitches? Those look kind of flame too. Let me see. Well, don't you love it when you don't write down what you've used? Okay, because I did not write down what I used, I'm going to go back and just pick what I want right now. That's crazy. Don't know what I did with it. It was a really cool flamey looking one. Okay, well, makes me crazy when that happens to me. And I know you don't want to see me scroll through these over and over. I'll just pick this one. It's not the one I had, but that's good. And I'm going to change it to about an 8. Apply. Now what's going to happen is it's going to stitch on both sides. This is going to be a folded edge here, and it'll stitch on both sides, a decorative stitch, and hold that binding up so we don't have a raw edge. Now let's think through this. Let me fit it to screen. Okay, let's turn off the grid so we can see. And let's redraw. Okay, placement line, and let's turn off our artwork so we don't have to look at artwork. Okay, placement line on my stabilizer. Now I'm going to lay all my fabrics in, and I'm going to line up the raw edge of the top of my fabrics right against this line, and I'm going to center it right to left because this is down the center of my hoop. Now it's going to stitch out my placement line. So now I know to make sure it's from here to here. It covers this. We're all good. Now what it's going to do is it's going to come in and it's going to stitch out my flames and everything. Okay, that's good. Now it's going to come and it's going to do all my quilting. That's good. Now it's going to do, I'm going to fold up my edge and it's going to do my finish. Now the one thing I don't like is it stitches out a placement line, but it never tacks it down. It goes immediately to the flames. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my artwork again. So I'm going to select my artwork and tell it, make that a run stitch. All right, so I've got a run stitch there, and it's put it at the bottom, which is great. I've made a run stitch. There it is. And what am I going to do? I'm going to open my properties and we're going to change this run again to about a 3.0. All right, so that's done. Great. Let's apply that. Now we've got one other thing to do for this and we'll be through with the front. I'm going to close my properties again. I need to move this, right mouse click, move. And I'm going to go ahead and move it to the first, and then I'll just pull it down. I'm going to pull it down before that flame. All right. So what I'm also going to do is I'm going to pull my text up, this text, because it's going to stitch in red. I don't want to have to change the thread a bunch of times. I'm going to put it right here. So I dropped it. Let's pull it right up here. Now what's going to happen is, let's look. Okay, we're going to stitch out placement lines, lay your fabric down. Now it's going to come in. It's stitching out my word. Oops, I want that below my tack down. So here we go again. Okay, now it's going to come in and stitch. There they go. There that is. Now it's going to come in. It's going to do my quilting in whatever color I want. Now I'm going to finish that. I'm going to fold up my little binding piece to that line. Then it's going to come in and stitch my finish. That's the front of our potholder. How cool is that? Now, all we have to do for the back is I'm going to grab this same original piece right here. Well, no, let's just start over because that's good for you. So we will file, save as. Now I want you to save it whatever format you need for your machine. We have them all. So we'll save that. Now let's get a new piece of paper. Let's open that artwork. Open, and you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to mirror image it because this is the back. So select your artwork and come here and mirror image. Perfect. Now what are we going to do? We're going to create a run stitch. Perfect. Now we're going to come in here and take our artwork mitt, just the mitt, and we are going to turn it into a plain run stitch. That's going to be the tack down. Now I'm going to take that mitt again and I'm going to come right down to my texture. I'm going to click 245. Let me go ahead and open my properties back up. What am I going to do? I'm going to change that to 25 millimeters so it's an inch. Apply. God, this is looking great. So now I've stitched my back. I'm going to have to do that line across the bottom again. So we can do a couple of things here. We can just recreate. So let's go ahead and get our pencil. Let's get our straight stitch. I'm going to come up right here too, because you want it in the same place on both mitts. Whoops. Well, that's not going to do it, is it? Same place on both mitts. I'm going to come up the 1/2 an inch, 1 inch right here. There we go. Okay, I'm going to select that little piece of artwork. Let's change its color. Turn it into a run stitch. Select that same piece of artwork. We are going to change it to our motif stitch. We're going to drop down our motif until we get to that little jaggedy one that we just used that I forgot to look at the number. And life is really good when you do that. And let me show you what we could do just to make it easy. If I go back to my first mitt and I select this decorative stitch, it tells me it's motif number F036. So I'm going to come back over here, grab it. I want F036. There it is, right there. I changed it to an 8. Apply. Now I've got that done. Now we have to do one more thing, because once the back mitt finishes, we're going to lay our front mitt on top of it, and we are going to have to stitch it together. So on this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my pencil, I'm going to get my artwork tool, and let's just make it a different color so we can see real good. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this a little bit, much as I can. And with my pencil, I'm going to come in and I'm going to start right here at the corner, but I'm going to move in just inside this line. Now I'm doing a series of left mouse clicks and I'm just creating an artwork line right inside the other stitch line. Now why inside that line? Because this is going to stitch our two pieces together, and we know that we need to do it a little offset. And let me tell you, you can worry about curves, but let me tell you, an embroidery machine only stitches a straight stitch. You use the curve tool and everything for your visual, but as long as you're clicking along the curve, it's going to do just fine. So I'm just doing a series of left mouse clicks. That's all I'm doing. And I'm doing them just inside this line. Just inside the original stitch line. So when I stitch them together, hopefully my stitching will be inside that line and I won't see any line of stitching. Okay, and I'm going to scroll down here. Come on down. And come on down and down at the bottom. Okay, so now I have finished. I'm going to right mouse click. Now what I have created is an artwork mitt without the bottom, because if we use the original artwork, it's going to stitch our mitt shut. So now that I've got that, I'm going to come in and say make it a run. I'm going to change this to 3.5. It's going to be going through a lot of layers of batting and fabric. I'm also going to come into my run extras and I'm going to say make it a bean stitch. And I just want 3 repeats, apply, because I want a real heavy stitch so when we're turning this, putting it on, putting it off, we won't pop those stitches. So now I have turned that into a run with a bean stitch. So I am good to go. Now with this bean, I'm just going to warn you. I've told you in the video instructions, I'm going to tell you here. You're going to stitch this whole thing out with an 8012 quilting needle, Floriani Chrome quilt needle, because you're going to be stitching through batting almost the whole time. Well, all but the placement line. When we come to put these layers together, you're going through a lot. Remember to put your presser foot up a little, because you don't want it dragging on your fabric, and you're going to change to an 8012 top stitch needle, Floriani Chrome top stitch needle. That is critical because you want that elongated eye, or all you're going to have is thread break, thread break, thread break. If you use a top stitch needle, slow your machine down, you're gold when you're stitching these together. So you will save this as, barbecue mitt back. We'll save the first one as barbecue mitt front, and you have created an absolute cool barbecue mitt to go in an 8x12 hoop. How cool is this? I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I hope you learned a lot. And I would like to direct you to my progressive classroom, pclassroom.blog. I teach all kinds of projects in there every month. They always have a video lesson. They have construction videos. Some things are done in the hoop. Some are half done in the hoop, half sewn. So I would love for you to join the progressive classroom. Have an absolutely marvelous day. I hope you enjoyed. See you in another week or so.